Welcome to Around the 412. We are part of allsteelers.com and proudly presented by Crowworthy, where winners are serving winners coast to coast with sports, gambling, fantasy, and more. You can follow Crowworthy at Crowworthy Takes on Twitter. You can visit us at crowworthy.com. You can also check out the Crowworthy Pittsburgh City page for podcasts just like this one, blogs, and more. I'm Tyler, and with me as always is Smitty, and today we are joined by rising YouTube star in the Steelers world, Mark Madden nemesis, Adam Steele, Renegade Adam himself, whatever you want to call him. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Not much, man. Happy to be here. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, great introduction. Honestly, very humbling. I don't agree with half of that rising star, but it's all good.
Well, no, I was gonna correct you because Tyler, you said rising star in the Steelers world. I mean, we got to go further and just say NFL world. Maybe not even cap it at that. Just say rising star in the YouTube world. That video. Man. With the punting balls, I mean, that's one of my favorite videos I've watched on YouTube recently.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I had fun with that one. I appreciate you guys having me on because, quite frankly, I've only been at this for about 2 years. I've had my Twitter for roughly 2 years. Started making YouTube videos less than a year ago, almost coming up on a year. But you guys around the 412, Zachary Smith specifically, I've seen you on Twitter, especially last season, 2020. And I was always like, man, these guys are funny. Like, I like their takes. I like what they're doing. And it's just kind of fun to be on a show with you guys. So I appreciate it.
For sure. Appreciate the comments. But like, I was just saying, let's just let people know. We got to be honest about this thing. Like, this thing developed very quickly because we may have seen each other's stuff for a little bit and maybe like keeping an eye from afar, but we didn't really follow each other until this recent spat with Mark Madden. And Tyler already mentioned his name. Let's just get that out there right away. This is something we're going to talk about a little bit down the line. But to be honest with everybody here, like this came together very quickly. This developed very quickly, but we're definitely happy to have you on here and talk about just all the cool things that you got going on.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, where should I start? Should I start with just YouTube? I mean,
hey, back it up even further than that. Let's just learn about Adam himself. I mean, what did you go to, like, what's your background? What did you go to school for? That type of stuff.
Really? You want to know that stuff? Okay.
All that stuff.
We can do that. So I grew up in upstate New York. Okay. I did not grow up in Pittsburgh. My last name is not Steele. Unfortunately, that would be awesome if it was. It'd be very cool.
Is it not himself either?
It's not himself either. So himself, actually, funny story, is a previous YouTube channel I had where I tried to start YouTube about a year ago, got that up to a couple thousand subs, and then I was like, this ain't for me. There's too much personal attention. It was a little too personal, hence the himself stuff. So I was like, I'm going to stop this. And then I obviously am a huge Steelers fan. So I was like, maybe I'll make YouTube videos on my favorite sports team. That's fun. So I started doing that. But I grew up in upstate New York, man. I went to school for computer science. I actually dropped out of college. Never got my degree there, but got into like the technology field because I always kind of liked it. I like tech, and I'm in a good job now. It all worked out, luckily. But yeah, I mean, I've been to Pittsburgh probably 10 to 12 times at this point, mostly for Steelers games. And honestly, I'm not just saying this just because I'm a Steelers fan. Like, everything about Pittsburgh, dude, I love. Like, I love the atmosphere. I love the way they set up their city. It is one of the best cities for like utilizing the three rivers and putting the sports stadiums in the right spots. Because I'm from Albany, New York, and they screwed that up. We have the Hudson River. They have a lot of bodies of water they could have utilized. It's all highway. So when I go to Pittsburgh, I'm like, this is how this is how you should have done it. I love it here. But yeah, so I grew up a Steelers fan. And just started making videos like 8 months ago on them.
Well, okay, so it's always interesting. I don't know if Tyler was going to say the same thing. I'll let Tyler go because I feel like I'm the one mainly.
I'm just curious. So from New York, and anybody that's not from Pittsburgh, I'm wondering, do you have family that's from Pittsburgh, or did your family was just Steeler fans, or how did you become a fan?
I became a Steelers fan because of my father, actually, and he grew up in the era where they were really dominating, the 70s, and like when they went on that huge Super Bowl streak and that dominating defense. And my dad says that the reason he really fell in love with them was because of their colors. He loves the black and gold. He thought it was cool. So I grew up with that, and my dad kind of watching the games. He would like watch them occasionally. Didn't watch them that much. I remember the first time I think I watched the Steelers game was which one was the Seahawks Super Bowl? It was the Seahawks Super Bowl. And I really wasn't into football that much. I was probably like, I don't know, 8 or 9 or maybe 10. And I was like, all right, yeah, this is whatever. He had like a party for it. It was cool. They won. That's great. And then I just remember after that season, I just kind of started watching them more and more the next season and the next season. And then I just kind of got addicted to it. And by the time I was like 14, I was in, like, anytime I had free periods at school, I would go to the computer lab and would go to ESPN and like read articles on the Steelers and the AFC North. And like, I just started obsessing over it. I just fell in love with them. So yeah, that's kind of how my love for them developed.
What's little funny fun fact about Smitty, but before that he was a Steelers fan.
He's going to say it.
I was going to say it. Before he was a Steelers fan, he was a fan of every single team that the Steelers played just to piss off his dad. So he was like one of those kids that was from Pittsburgh and just purposely chose to not like them just to piss off people.
Okay.
So my first jersey was an Eddie George jersey. Okay, which is like, that's fine. I'm also like an Ohio State fan. So But my second jersey, Tom Brady.
I mean, that's like strike 1, 2, and 3 right there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, what's funny that what I was going to mention about the game that you mentioned, that Super Bowl against the Seahawks, that was the first year that I was really like a Steelers fan. I don't know what happened, but this is why I always say like Big Ben is literally the only Steelers quarterback that I've ever known, is because prior to his tenure, I wasn't a Steelers fan. I was always rooting against them. I don't know what happened there that drew me in, but I became a Steelers fan that season, and then they won the Super Bowl. And I was like, this is great. We're doing this every year.
Yeah. Yep. Dude, that's
you
crazy.
You must have just really hated Tommy Gunn.
Maybe. I don't know what it was, man. But yeah, prior to 2004, 2005, I was not a Steelers fan.
It's funny because I was, the only Steelers quarterback I really know is Ben either. Like that's when I started really liking them and getting into them, was by the time he was drafted. So I kind of relate to that. Like, this is what I'm worried about is – we're getting to a point, and we can talk about Ben if we want. I happen to be
a lot of stuff on Ben.
I happen to be a Ben truther still.
Yep.
My summary on Ben right now is he's obviously not the quarterback he was, but no one is at 39. But he's definitely still good enough to win a Super Bowl. Like, that's what I would put him at right now. But yeah, Ben is the only Steelers quarterback I've watched my entire career. And we're getting to a point where we're going to have to draft another franchise guy. So it's going to be interesting to be a Steelers fan,
and
at least for me.
It's not as easy as just drafting a guy. Like, it's not going to work out. I mean, look at these teams. They take guys early and don't work out. So we got very fortunate. An entire generation of Steelers fans have only known one quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see what the response is like when he's no longer here. We are going to talk about this at length. Much later, but a lot of this just seems like it's regurgitated on here between Tyler and I in terms of Ben, because there were definitely points on the show at the end of last season where we were calling for him not to come back, and it really had nothing to do with him himself. It was just like, I still feel like he could definitely play at a high enough level. Now I'm interested to see how that works in a Matt Canada system. But it was more so about, let's just start the transition period now. However, obviously, when you draft a running back in the first round and bringing Juju back on just a 1-year contract, they're definitely all in for one more year. We can talk about this down the line, but back to Adam. Let's hear about just the start of this YouTube channel. Then you mentioned that you had a YouTube channel before this, but the one that's been going on now that you're kind of blowing up with, you had monetized in about 2 months. Let's hear about this YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to know specifically? Like the content I'm doing?
So obviously you're a Steelers fan, so I would say that that's probably the main inspiration for it. But there's a lot of Steelers fans that they don't do much with. Obviously, we do the podcast, you do a YouTube channel. What inspired you to actually, want to put that type of content out there?
I would just say I've always liked YouTube. I've watched it for a long time. Again, I had my personal, this is what the sign is from, like my personal channel that did okay. Like in a year, it got like 3,000 subs almost. It's been losing subs because I haven't put anything on it, but I've always enjoyed kind of creating content. And I noticed that at least in the Steelers realm, people weren't making good content on YouTube for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I feel like video format is probably going to start picking up more and more steam. It's just, to me, it's just getting started. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but really over the last 2 years, I don't know how much you guys watch YouTube. I watch it a lot.
Every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Really, maybe you can verify this on your end. Over the last 2 years is when you really started seeing YouTube recommend like NFL content. So to me, it was like, okay, YouTube is just starting to push out, especially like for specific teams, like NFL content. So I feel like there's a niche there that needs filling. And I was like, I like making videos. I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me try and just kind of fill that niche a little bit and see where it goes. And so I started doing that, about, I think it was week 5 or 6 last season. And ever since then, I've just been, adding to it, trying to get better at it. But yeah, that's where Adam Steele started from.
Well, to your point about, within the last 2 years, and I would say that I would have to agree with how that timeline lines up.
Yeah.
Like definitely from a fan perspective for sure, but even at a team level and, at a professional level with the NFL and all these professional publications and stuff, when you talk about the content being pushed out, they're literally hiring people just for this stuff specifically now.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, that just goes to show you like this boom period, like you said, with a video type content. So, I mean, I don't want to, I feel like I'm tooting your horn literally every chance that I get here. But like you literally came in, I feel like at the perfect time because there still isn't necessarily much there, or at least that I see regularly. So maybe if it is there, they're not doing that great of a job of pushing it. It's not getting recommended to me. I don't know. But your channel came up, pretty much, right away. I saw it. I was like, man, this guy makes good content, obviously about the Steelers. So I'm intrigued by this. But yeah, I mean, that's interesting that you say that because before you would have said that I wouldn't necessarily have thought about that. But as you got my gears turning here, yeah, definitely within like the last 2 years, I've seen it more and more.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of would say you could probably say the same with like TikTok and stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know where it's going to go. Probably going to try and branch out a little bit this season, but
have you thought about making a TikTok? To
I
post
have,
clips on stuff. I've heard that TikTok is the best app to try to grow onto YouTube.
Because you could use like the TikToks and then do YouTube Shorts, that exact same video.
Yeah, I know, and that's kind of sneak preview like some of my plan for this season. So you'll probably see more of that. I try and keep up with it. I don't love TikTok. I think there's a lot of stupid. Like when I first made the app, all that was recommended to me was like girls twerking all the time.
Hey, it's based off your algorithm.
Hey, bro, chill. I mean, I like girls twerking, but like not that much, like not where I need to open an app and that's all I see.
Right.
And so I pretty much really didn't spend a lot of time on it. I still don't, but I do acknowledge it's huge. I mean, there's a reason Juju's on it. There's a reason Chase Claypool's on it. There's a reason other NFL players are on it. It is big. So, I probably will get involved on TikTok. I might make a new account. I do have a personal account that I posted like 2 things to, but I might start over this season and try and see where it goes.
Yeah, I just know I've seen multiple. I follow a bunch of like video game guys, and they have started on TikTok, and they've been able to grow their Twitch channels and their YouTube videos, all just from posting on TikTok, and then they get a following on there, and it just follows over to YouTube and Twitch and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, I have a question, and this is more so not just about your Adam Steele, but Adam himself. So YouTube is obviously just a thing that you're doing like by yourself. And so Smitty and I, we're in front of cameras and we talk, but we're talking to each other, so it's not as hard. So I wonder did it come natural to you to just look at a camera and start talking, or was that kind of a challenge?
Nah, man, it was a challenge from day one. It's still a challenge. I mean, if you guys could see, if you could see the awkward stuff that I cut out of my videos, you would friggin' piss your pants laughing. Cause bro, there's a lot of stuff that I say and it just doesn't land. And I know it doesn't land in my head. And I'm like, I'm going to have to cut that later. And like, I'm talking to myself and then I go back and for a 10-minute video, there's probably about, 15 to 20 minutes of actual film that I recorded for it. And I'll cut out the rest. it's not natural. It's still not natural. I've gotten better probably, but it's yeah. You're never gonna feel normal like sitting a camera down and sharing your thoughts, projecting these emotions, and talking to a camera. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and at the same time, you're talking to a camera in the moment, but then you have to realize you're probably going to be trying to talk to multiple people at the same time. So, like you said, you have to project that emotion and everything.
Yep, it's
thousands
tough.
and thousands of people, and you can join those thousands of people. By the way, I just put a link to Adam's YouTube channel in the comments here. So if you're watching the video, they will be there. If you're listening, go back to the YouTube video and you'll see the comment there. But okay, so you kind of have started to dive into the aspirations for your channel as next football season rolls around. Is there anything on the horizon though that we should know about? I mean, if you want to give the Around the 412 community a little bit of sneak peek before you announce anything, what you got going on.
No, I mean, I've been pretty transparent with my community on YouTube. Like I tell them I'll do a community post or whatever and tell them like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm thinking. Because one, I appreciate their feedback. Like I don't want to be one of those YouTubers who, no matter where I go, whether I fizzle out and into non-existence or I blow up into astronomical proportions, I don't want to forget about the people who kind of built that foundation for me and like were there from day one. Like I recognize so many users handles on my videos and like I'm not going to forget them. I see their name pop up and I'm like, oh yeah, you've been here since that video or whatever. I've told them straight up, you know, my goal is to obviously like Steelers content. I'll always make Steelers and Pittsburgh centric content to an extent, but this season I'm definitely going to branch out. Like I've done skits before. I want to keep doing skits. They're fun. I have fun making them. I like the editing process of them. So like, have you guys ever seen Scooter Magruder?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like skits like that, or Patcast Tom Grossi or Grossi. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but have you seen him before?
No, actually.
He's got like 200K on YouTube. He just recently started blowing up. He does some skits. He does stuff like that. So I definitely want to get into the skits field a little bit because I have fun with it. And I think it's a better way to reach kind of a more wide audience. I want to do shorts, like you guys mentioned. I definitely want to do shorts around whether just being at football games or just quick reactions that I can really just throw out there immediately. And I don't have to edit for like 3 or 4 hours. So I think my split is going to be like 50% Steelers content this season, in season, and then like 50% NFL content and see where it goes from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
How tough is it for you to make, and maybe it's easier, I mean, I don't know. How tough is it for you to come up with video ideas in the off season?
It's kind of tough because you don't want to be the guy who's just making content to make content and like talking about stuff that is kind of stupid. Like it doesn't really matter. And so you got to balance that and play that right. I probably screwed up a few times doing that, but again, I'm still trying to learn. I don't think it's as hard though as people say it is. Like there's headlines all the time in season. Like today we just got Richard Sherman like getting arrested and whatever that is. I don't know how that's evolving, but if you wanted to, you can make a great video out of that. Just whatever it is, doing the research, sharing your thoughts on it. The Ben Roethlisberger foot thing on TikTok. It's kind of dumb, but it's also kind of not, because it's like literally when you do the research, shout out Steelers Depot, Alex Kozora, 90% of the time you can know what they're going to do based on Ben's foot. That's a big headline to me. Like it might sound dumb, but it is. So I think you just kind of got to pick and choose your stuff. There's definitely less headlines, but I think there's enough stuff out there to at least make a video a week on.
Yeah, you mentioned content that doesn't matter. I mean, according to some people, none of what any of us do really matter.
Right.
And I kind of want to dive into this whole thing with a certain local radio host here in Pittsburgh. Like, I understand that you mentioned his name on Twitter, and I don't know if you knew what would evolve from doing that. If you would have asked me beforehand, I would have said that that's going to happen because he searches his name. But just how everything has evolved from that point. I mean, I don't know where we want to go with this conversation, but I just had to get your take on that whole thing. I know you made a YouTube video on it, and people can go and watch that. But if they haven't seen it yet, let me just get your take on here.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Madden, I'm sure anyone who lives in Pittsburgh knows the name. He's a character, man. I made a tweet about him because I saw him bagging on, I think it was Michael Beck,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
about an article that Michael made where he made an article and shared it. Didn't even mention Mark Madden. I don't
Well, no,
think,
you know what it was all it was a PFF said how many wins are the Steelers going to have this year, and all Michael said was more wins than people think.
That's it.
It wasn't even an article. Yeah, it wasn't even an article.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So that's crazy. So Mark Madden goes out here and he starts attacking the guy for essentially nothing, just sharing a normal casual tweet you'd see from anyone any day of the week. And then I started watching Michael Beck and Mark Madden go back and forth, and I was like just kind of evaluating. I didn't even chime in during it or under any of the threads. And then the next day I was just thinking about it because I had been following Mark for like a week at that point. And I was like, man, Mark Madden and I shared my thoughts because that's what you do on Twitter, right? You just kind of share your random thoughts. And I was like, Mark Madden just seems bitter and old and he can't keep up with people, making an audience for themselves without going through radio. And I didn't at him. I wasn't trying to get attention from him. He has 120,000 followers. So I certainly didn't think some random dude with, I think at the time, like 600 followers, he would see that and he would see it at all. I didn't think he would see it. And then he just quote tweeted it and started going in on me. And I was like, bro, what? And then I remember he was going, I think he tweeted like 2 or 3 times about my take on him. And then he was like, oh, spoken like a true sports commentary YouTuber, another pretend media guy. And that's when I got like annoyed. I was like, 1, I haven't responded to your initial quote tweet at all. 2, why are you bothered and looking into my profile? Because that's on my Twitter profile. You have to click in to see it. So he clearly clicked at my profile and looked at it. I'm like, bro, I'm not that important. Like, what are you so concerned about? And then, so then I responded, right? And I just started telling him like, I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't want to sound braggadocious. I've been bragging enough on Twitter or looking like I brag enough on Twitter today, but I was like, I've just been doing my thing. It's a hobby, blah, blah, blah. And then he responded, oh, are you making money from it yet? And then that just got me going more because when people try and clown on you for stuff that you're actually doing or like they don't have the facts about, that really gets me going. So then I was like, actually, yeah, I've been monetized for the last, since I've been doing it 2 months in, shared all these stats with him. And then he was just telling me like how, pretend media is never going to be relevant. He's bigger than everyone. Everyone knows his name. He's bigger than anyone on the team, etc. So I took it off Twitter and I made a video about it, essentially is what happened. So yeah, Mark Madden.
I will say he really doesn't delete tweets, and he did delete one in that conversation. And I don't even really want to bring up what he said on here.
Yeah.
Just because we obviously don't want to give that any type of light or shed any type of light on it. But it's very unfortunate to see those words spoken from somebody with such a huge platform.
Yeah.
And the worst part about it, even though he deleted it so the backlash would stop. He's not sorry about saying it.
Oh, yeah. No, he doesn't care.
And we've had so many conversations like back and forth with him ourselves. And that's why I know that that's the truth. Yeah. And this whole pretend media thing, because we really haven't shared our thoughts on it either, but we openly say on here that we are the furthest thing from traditional media.
Right.
So no idea why people that do this type of content continue to get lumped in as pretend media guys when we do nothing but try to say the opposite.
Right.
Like, we are literally just fans of the team.
Yep.
Trying to provide decent content, and we think relatively I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? You can't get it necessarily anywhere else. Where else can you go and find fans having Minka Fitzpatrick on their podcast?
Yeah. I think it's more
spoiler alert. Stephon Tuitt's coming on before the season starts. Where else can you find that?
Yeah. No, I think it's just genuine content is the best way to phrase it, because you're a fan of the team and that's what it is. These reporters and these media people, they have agendas Like they have bosses they got to respond to. They have these, you know, the player's agent said he's not coming on unless you talk him up or unless you ask these 5 questions or whatever it is. I think YouTube media or whatever media you're doing, TikTok, whatever it is, in a lot of ways is more genuine than what's on radio.
Well, that's something we prided ourselves in, is that we just say we are genuinely giving our takes, giving our opinions, and we say the only thing that we're biased in is that we want the teams to win that we root for, and then we'll still be critical whenever they need to be criticized, and we give praise whenever they do so. That's very relevant over the past few days, especially because of the Pirates. The whole MLB draft situation and how you feel about draft picks and getting attacked for liking the draft picks. That's whatever. But and my mentions have not stopped for a day and a half.
I don't know how you did it, because there's zero reason that you should have had more Twitter engagement over the last 24 hours than me, but you somehow did it.
I did it. They're still going. I currently have 19 notifications in my Twitter notifications. That's since we started the show. So, you know, it is what it is. But at the same time, anybody who thinks we're like shills of the team, that's not true. Go back and listen to some of our shows. We're very critical of a lot of the things that these teams do, but we are still fans of the teams, and we pride ourselves in that.
Yeah, I think you can find fans that are more critical of the team than anyone else because you care, because you love that team. Mm-hmm. So there's obviously people that are going to be super biased and like, this team can do no wrong, but there's plenty of people out there, and like you guys, like you make content because you care so much. You're going to be critical of the things you don't agree with, and you're going to be just painfully honest because that's how you actually feel, and you can't fake that. You know, you can't fake that for clicks. You can't fake that for whatever type of, you know, engagement you'll get. It's just a different kind of level.
Yeah. Mike did have a couple questions in the comments here. He said, about how many subscribers do you think that you've gained since that Mark Madden video?
Not that much, probably like 400.
How'd that video do though? I mean, because I feel like there were a lot of people, and I feel like found your account for the first time because of that whole spat. I
would say it helped my Twitter more than it helped
or
my
at least,
YouTube.
Well, that's as I was saying, it was like, or at least your Twitter account, but the YouTube stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I gained probably around 300 to 400 subs from that Mark Madden spat, and then like 500 Twitter followers around probably. I was pretty insignificant on Twitter. Still am, obviously, but prior to that, definitely just insignificant.
Also, he wanted to know if you received that the ratings info yet, since you weren't going to advertise.
Nah, man. Listen, I called up. I was speaking to the dude who does the ads on iHeartRadio for Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. He was all in. He was ready to give me all the ratings. He was excited to have an ad for me. And I think I screwed up and I released that video before I got the analytics because he ghosted me. He ghosted me 100%. And I think Mark Madden or someone in that company saw that I was trying to do some other stuff with it. And they were like, take Adam. Because I had to give my real name. I couldn't fake it because that could legally get me into trouble. And I was like, I'm not trying to get in any legal trouble for this. So I gave my real name initially when I called in. And I think that might have screwed me. Yeah.
Dang, the one time I was going to listen to Mark Madden's show. It's been ruined.
I know.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Steelers now. I mean, that's the reason we're here. That's the reason, we make the content that we do. So I said before that you had already made a YouTube video on this, but I want to talk about it some more on here. Steelers Depot also dove into this thing, this Big Ben footwork thing. And there is something else that I want to bring up about Big Ben later.
Okay.
Like, how much of a big deal is this? Like, because I've watched your video, so I know your takes kind of, but obviously not everybody has. Yeah. How big of a deal is the Big Ben footwork stuff that he might be tipping plays to a defense, maybe a second or two before the play is ran?
Yeah. It's not a big deal. Not to bury the lead, it's not a big deal. You have to think about it from a defense's perspective and an NFL perspective. I played football in high school. The last thing I was thinking about in high school was what the quarterback was doing when I lined up on defense, because you don't have time. When you run out on the field on defense, you have what on average would you say a defense has? 15 seconds, maybe.
Yeah,
to line up, get ready, get in your positions, look at the man you're going to cover, see the pre-snap formation, see the package they put out there, see where everyone lined up. You have to evaluate all these things within about 15 seconds. The last thing that you are doing is looking at the feet of a quarterback. Now, I am not a professional athlete, so I can only imagine that in the NFL, there's a lot more going on. These were when I'm in high school calling like cover 3. Okay, we called cover 3 for the last 20 plays. I know where I'm going, but I still got to look at like what they're doing, right? And evaluate that. This is the NFL. They called cover 3 with like an adjusted look or like an adjusted package, or they called some crazy play that is like 15 words long. And you're like, okay, what does that word mean here? Oh, right. It's this and that. And okay, got it. There is no time to be looking at Ben Roethlisberger's feet and being like, what is he doing? Okay, cool. So he's got his heel 2 seconds before the ball snap. He's got his heel lifted, I think. Okay, I'm going to play it this way. I'm going to play it that way. There's no room for it. There's absolutely no room for it. Especially if you're even in the linebacking core. So like if you're an inside linebacker, you're 5 to 10 yards away from Ben's feet, you're going to be spending the last 2 seconds of the snap looking at his feet. Or if you're a corner, you can't even see that. That's a total waste of time. And let's just say a defensive line, he commits. A defensive lineman commits to like, guys, we're going into this. We have this tell on Ben Roethlisberger. He lifts his heel. He's going to pass. He keeps it flat. It's going to be a run, which isn't even accurate. 10% of the time you're going to be wrong, which is a whole nother piece of the argument. If you have a defensive lineman committed to that assignment, there is no way he's going to shout out a whole new defense that is going to change your formation, that is going to change everyone's assignment, that is going to change how you play this play. You're not going to sub in people within 1 to 2 seconds. That's impossible. You get a penalty every time. It's not, to me, this whole thing is not relevant at all. It's cool on video and when you can take screenshots and like slow it down. Overall, though, it's just a non-story to me.
That's how I see it. I see it as something that you can go back on film later and pick apart and say, okay, this is a run, this is a pass. But in game, it's going to do absolutely nothing for you because you can't, like you said, on defense, you're not spending time watching that to in hopes of it tipping you off. You just can't focus on that. Tyler, I don't know what you were about to say, but I felt like
I was going to say, I think it was funny because I saw this video either the day that it came out on TikTok or like the day after, and I thought it was pretty neat watching it. I'm like, okay, that actually
cool.
making sense. His feet are closer together. It's going to be a run. His feet further apart and his heels up. It's going to be a pass. But in my head, when I was thinking about it, I was like, the only way that a team could exploit this to me is if you had someone on the sideline specifically watching Ben's feet and watching if it's going to be a pass or run and then shouting it, because at that point, the helmet communication is going to be shut off to the linebacker. But at that point, what's it really going to do you? Because your defense is already set up. Like you said, you're not going to have time to change those plays. So, yeah, it's cool to look at on a replay, and it's funny to know that is actually a tell because it took all these years. I wonder how long you could go back in Ben's career and figure out that he's been doing this the entire time. But at the end of the day, it's not going to affect the games any. Defenses aren't going to think about it. They have enough to worry about with all the motion and havoc that's going on the field in front of them. So you're right.
Especially now with Matt Canada at the helm.
Yeah, with Matt Canada, you're going to even have more motion, presumably, from that Steelers offense. So there's going to be multiple things they're going to be worrying about besides Ben Roethlisberger's feet.
That's the thing is, with the feet thing, maybe with an offense ran under Randy Fichtner, you can just watch Ben's feet because there's no other creativity on the field going on.
Yeah, because you know if he lifts his foot, it's probably going to be a slant, so I can at least drop back because that's all he's got in his playbook is a slant. And then if it's not, it's just going to be a power run. So you can play it that way. But yeah.
Ironically, I remember watching those plays. There was like no movement whatsoever from any of the players. So
you're right. Go figure.
Randy Fichtner, king of movement.
Great guy, though. Terrible offensive coordinator.
Great guy.
Apparently, I've never met him,
Terrible
but
OC.
apparently,
We actually heard a news story about him Saturday, but yeah, there's a lot of good stories about him in the Pittsburgh community.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. So, still on Ben, switching gears to maybe something that is a bigger deal than this. Are we getting a BR7 diet plan coming out soon, like the TB12? I mean, apparently he is committed to this season. He's all in on this diet and workout routine.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, listen, I'm never going to like fully say he wasn't committed to things in the off season. I don't know what he was doing, but all of a sudden, year 18, throw everything else in the first 17 years out the window. It's all about 2021.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of having that monologue kind of tells, like, it's kind of ridiculous, right? It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I think I'll say this much. I don't think Ben has ever been as lazy as the media has, tried to push out as him being. I think Ben Roethlisberger is literally one of the most competitive dudes in the NFL. I think he's one of the most competitive guys on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I hate that narrative that he's not competitive. It's just not true.
Why would he still be playing? He doesn't have to still be playing if that's the case.
He could have retired at 30 and been like, I did it all, man. I'm the GOAT. People in Pittsburgh are gonna love me forever. Who cares? Like, no, Ben is one of the most competitive people, period, point blank. You see it from ex-teammates and current teammates. They're not just blowing smoke. And I think the narrative that Ben is out of shape every year and he's getting into better shape every year is also kind of dumb. It's like, Ben's in shape. He can play football. He's never going to look like, Dak Prescott or like name your favorite in shape quarterback. But I think I will say this year specifically is probably the most stock I would put into that story just because of how the season ended and what the talk has been about him since the season ended. We thought the disrespect was bad in 2020, like the offseason leading into 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Take that and times it by like 10. Yeah. Everyone is down and out on Ben. Everyone thinks he's finished. Everyone is just clowning on him. Everyone is making fun of the guy. Everyone, Cleveland, which hate it or love it, he's owned for his entire career, and he lost a playoff game to them. That hits you different than like losing to a Patriots again or losing to a Green Bay again. Like me personally, as I think somewhat competitive person, if I dominated someone for like 10 years and then I went out and I faced them in something and I got, embarrassed, I would be probably more motivated than I've been in a while to come back and like do some good stuff, So
I think it's like the little brother has beaten the big brother once.
Yes.
And now the big brother has to show that he can still do it at a high enough level.
Exactly. So I think he's probably more motivated than he's ever been, but I don't think he's ever had a problem with motivation like the media tries to tell you.
And that's the thing is I agree with literally everything that you just said. I just think through his first 17 years, in every year, he's always had his own way of doing it, but he's still coming to the field on Sundays, doing it his way and been successful. Mm-hmm. Regardless of whatever he's doing in the offseason, hey, it's worked for this long. Why would we try to change it? I think that as he's gotten older, though, and especially after last season, like you mentioned, he's realized he's had to make some type of change in his lifestyle in order for this season, very possibly his last, to try to go out and win a Super Bowl and ride off into the sunset. Mm-hmm. So
that's actually what I was going to say, just because not really playing devil's advocate, but I'm sure that we know Ben worked hard and we know he was motivated, but I'm sure as a younger guy, he didn't have to work as hard as he would have as a 39-year-old to stay in shape. I think with his body getting older, I think he realizes that he has to maybe take an extra step to be able to do that, and along with that motivation as well. But, we got to remember he's 39 years old. If he wants to continue to play in the league and play at the level we're expecting him to, he would have to take care of himself a little differently.
Definitely.
That's the thing is like young Ben and even early 30s Ben would always come into camp a little lighter than he would be in the season. And then he put on that weight throughout the season. He always liked playing heavier. That's the reason he was able to play that backyard style of football, elusive, shrugging guys off, if you will. But obviously, he's taken a little bit of a different approach this offseason, which is interesting. But at the same time, with everything that's going into this 2021 season, what it means for not just him personally, but for the organization, it's not surprising to me that a guy of his competitive nature is willing to do these extra things.
Hey, maybe it's that Matt Canada influence. He's like, hey, I'm a mobile OC. I like quarterbacks that can move. We got to get that young Ben again. We got to get you on a diet, get those legs going.
Are we going to see Big Ben running some option?
Probably not. I mean, maybe 2. I would put the over and under at like 2 of him actually taking the ball and running.
I'll say over under 0.5.
Yeah.
Ben running out of the Wildcat.
I think what your boy Jake is in here right now. He just followed us today. You guys do a show together, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that actually real quick, because I don't think we brought that up at all.
Yeah, we do the AJ show on YouTube. It's literally and then the letters AJ for Adam and Jake show. It's something that we started that was inspired by the Pat McAfee show, where 2 guys come together from different teams and just talk about the NFL in general. And I think we're on episode 18 or 19 at this point. It's a live stream show. You get to engage with us and kind of be there live in the moment. So we're definitely excited about that. And we expect it to pick up once the season starts, because we're going to do it on Sundays, like prior to kickoff for most games. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, we also have Jake Shavenkin here. So 2 Jakes. Can't go wrong with that. Okay. But yeah, Big Ben eating avocado ice cream. Never thought I'd see it in my lifetime, but
yeah, man,
here we are.
We go.
Okay, so the last thing that we got here, and we can see where we can go with this as well, maybe turns into a big conversation. I saw an article today, and this was from a few days ago, so maybe everybody's already caught wind and thought about this on their own. I saw an article that said Dwayne Haskins, Jalen Samuels, Vince Williams. Those are the 3 Steelers that are on the biggest hot seat, if you will, or in danger of losing their position. So I guess in this case, it would be Josh Dobbs beating out Haskins for QB3. Jalen Samuels, obviously not one of the running backs they keep now. Spoiler alert, I can't see that part happening of this. And then Vince Williams, I guess, losing his starting job to Robert Spillane. If Vince Williams isn't going to start, is he on the roster at all? Is he still going to play special team snaps at his age?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly get the names on the article. If I was going to say anyone is most likely to lose their job, I would say Jalen Samuels. I don't think Dwayne Haskins is going anywhere. They just signed him. He's super cheap. They're clearly excited about him. They kind of gushed over him when they initially signed him and talked about his pedigree. And Tomlin is a pedigree guy, whether you like it or not. I don't think Dwayne's going anywhere, even if he's kind of awful in the preseason. I really don't see it. Maybe they'll, put him as 4th. Who knows? But Vince Williams, again, I don't really see, because we saw how thin the inside linebackers got towards the end of last year. I mean, who's your most reliable linebacker right now? It's really Robert Spillane and Vince Williams. Those are the 2, because Devin Bush is coming back from ACL. He'll obviously start, but he was just injured for a whole year. Who are you going to put? Ulysses Gilbert? I mean, he's been out with back issues consistently, especially last year. And then you got your rookie, who I like, Buddy Johnson, but we know how the Steelers are with late-round pick rookies. They slow roll them. Yeah, they slow roll these guys. I don't see that happening. If anything, Jalen Samuels, because I really like the stable of running backs that they have, to be honest. I mean, you got Najee Harris, he's going to be your workhorse. Then you got Benny Snell, you got Anthony McFarland, and then you can toss up guys that you like there in the 4th spot. But I don't think Jalen Samuels has done that much recently to warrant being a lock for that roster. But
I don't even think about him, honestly, when I think about the running backs.
That's the thing that confuses me is, I get he is a name that they could put in this article, but the past year or 2, it's surprising it's like, oh, he's still on the team. That's right. What I think of when I think of Jalen Samuels. So, I feel like that's an obvious name. Dwayne Haskins, to me, I mean, is he fighting for a spot? Maybe, but I feel like he's kind of in an awkward position, because he's really fighting for that second quarterback spot. Although if you ask Smitty and I, we think that is Mason Rudolph's spot still.
Yeah.
And then is he really fighting for Josh Dobbs to be a spot on the roster? Now, we still think, and I still think that there's a possibility that the Steelers could he'd carry the 3 quarterbacks and then have one on the practice squad, so they'd keep all 4 essentially. Yep. Assuming that Dobbs wouldn't be placed on or taken off waivers. But Vince Williams at the same time, how much is he really in a risk of losing his job because of, like you said, that linebacker depth was not there last year? You kind of have to protect that position now. Yep. And I feel like with Devin Bush coming back from the ACL injury, if he's going to be out there, do you want Robert Spillane out there with him, or do you want Vince Williams, a guy who's been there, done that? He's done it with Devin Bush, and he can be the anchor in the basically the quarterback of that defense. So, I mean, all 3 of those names technically, yes, could be on the chopping block, but I really don't see any of them besides Jalen Samuels as really threats to not make the roster.
The last thing that you said about Vince Williams is why he's still going to be on this team. Devin Bush essentially lost his entire second year. He is not going to be ready to take on that communication role for the defense and be the quarterback of it, at least to start. So Vince Williams, that's why I picked Vince Williams to end up being the starter next to him over Robert Spillane, is because for the Steelers, if you have to choose between one of the two, between the physical traits or the above the shoulders part of the game, they're going to take the above the shoulders part of that game. The mindset, the experience that Vince Williams brings, he's going to be on this team. So,
yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to cut Vince Williams, in my opinion. I mean, you can kind of keep a position of strength there. Robert Spillane was good last year. I mean, for what he was asked to do, he did a good job. And to have that on your roster still and Vince Williams still at an affordable price, it would be kind of dumb to cut Vince Williams, in my opinion.
For sure. I was surprised to see his name on there. Now, if you were to say maybe losing his starting job at some point in the season, like I said, once, Devin Bush does have that communication part down and can wear the dot for the defense, and you want to put Spillane next to him, and again, I think that we're going to see a lot of packages where that is the case anyways, then maybe I could see that, but I don't see a way that Vince Williams isn't on the team come opening night.
Especially, I think, whenever you look at the rest of the defense and the depth issues that the rest of the defense has among the edge position and the corner position, I really don't think that you could sacrifice linebacker depth as well along with those other positions. You're really, at that point, you would be really hoping that your starters just never get hurt the entire season. You have no issues whatsoever because, and we know the way NFL seasons go, you can't rely on that.
Yep, absolutely.
Adam, I want to so this is the last thing that I want to bring up because it kind of ties in because we just talked about Haskins. We've had Nick Faribault give his opinion on this. We've had Derek come on here and give his opinion on this. Obviously, Tyler just brought up the idea of carrying 4 quarterbacks. Do you think that the Steelers will carry all 4 quarterbacks this year?
That's tough, man. Honestly, I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I don't see it. Yeah.
And I'd assume that you think it's Josh Dobbs that loses out then.
I do. Roster. As much as I love him and I want him to, succeed, I think
I would love to see him quit playing and just join the coaching staff.
I've heard great things about him as far as being a supporting cast member. But, if I was the Steelers, I wouldn't. I would save that for another position where you're lacking some depth and maybe someone can step up a little more. Like secondary, there's a lot of question marks about who's going to be that next guy in the nickel or on the outside. It's like you still have question marks there. Like, is it Pierre Desir? Is it Arthur Millette? Is it Shakur Brown? Like, there's many names that you could potentially just keep on your roster and see how that plays out, as opposed to, like, if Ben goes down, God forbid, knock on wood, it's Mason Rudolph. And then if Mason Rudolph goes down, it's really whoever wins that job, which I expect it to be Dwayne Haskins. I pray to God we don't see that, obviously, for many reasons. But you're kind of more set at the quarterback position right now than you are at other positions where that extra body could really be valuable.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. The only reason that it's even a discussion at all, I feel like, is for the reason I just brought up, like, why I would love to just have Josh Dobbs on the coaching staff, is he just has such a great football mind. Now, it doesn't obviously translate to the field as well as you'd like. He's obviously not going to go somewhere and be a starting quarterback. But he's definitely an asset in that quarterback room, and I think that's why it's going to be a tough decision for them to make. Now, as we've mentioned, it's Ben. I think, though, that Mason Rudolph is more locked into that number 2 spot than people think. Like, I don't really think Haskins is pushing for that 2 spot. I would be more shocked if Haskins ends up the backup than I would be if Haskins is cut.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with that statement. No, I really do. To me, there's no reality where Mason Rudolph falls below Dwayne Haskins for many reasons. 1, Mason Rudolph has a lot of experience. 2, the Steelers gushed over Mason Rudolph the way they gushed over Dwayne Haskins. They like him. Whether you hate or like Mason Rudolph, and I know it's very polarizing, the Steelers love him. Every time they say anything about him, they gush over him. We had a first-round grade. Oh, he's a great guy. Oh, he's doing well, in training camp and practice, blah, blah. To me, there's no competition there this year for Dwayne Haskins and Mason. It's Ben, Mason, and then pick your guy at 3.
I do think that there is a path to them keeping 4, but like Tyler said, it would require Josh Dobbs passing through waivers to then be able to go onto the practice squad. So
sure.
It will be interesting to see what they do with that.
I guess my only question is, do you think that the Steelers would just cut Dobbs, or do you think that they would place him on waivers in the hopes that he could be on the practice squad?
I think they'd like to keep him around if they could.
Yeah.
I think they'll do everything that they can to keep him in the organization. But it wouldn't surprise me to see another team pick him. Again, no one's going to pick him up to be their starter.
He'd probably be picked for the same reason that the Steelers would keep him, because he's a good mind to have in the quarterback room.
Yeah.
Right. But the difference is, do other organizations really know about that? Like, no one's going to covet him the way that the Steelers would.
Jacksonville.
So if it's even – well, the thing with Jacksonville, and that's what when he was on here, we talked about it with him. Like, he was going there for a starting opportunity, and then somehow, out of nowhere, Gardner Minshew became Gardner Minshew for a season. Like, that was not supposed to happen. Josh Dobbs was supposed to get his shot being a starter there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean – I guess there definitely are some locations that are thin at quarterback that could pick him up as a 2 or a 3, but they're not going to know about what he brings to the quarterback room as much as the Steelers do, and that's why I think that you might be able to sneak him through waivers.
Potentially, yeah, definitely.
We got anything else? I don't know if we have anything else.
No, not Steelers related, not YouTube related. No, we're good. We talked about a lot.
We did talk about a lot. It's been a lot of fun, Adam. We can't thank you enough for joining the show.
Yeah,
definitely got to do it again. We can't wait to get you to Pittsburgh and link up in person.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
You do us a favor and shout out all your socials. Anywhere anybody can find you.
Yeah. So Twitter is @RenegadeAdam. YouTube is Adam Steele, and then Instagram is _Adam himself.
Very good. All great stuff, Adam. Like I said, I'll say it 1,000 times over. We can't thank you enough for coming on the show. We look forward to seeing more of your content, and we'll be talking very soon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. You take care.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye. All right. I'm. What is this? I'm normally on this side. There we go.
It happened last week, too. I was a big screen for a second before you switched it.
So check out all of Adam's stuff. I will put it in the description of the YouTube video when it's back up.
And if you search Adam Steele on YouTube, he's literally the first thing that pops up. You don't have to try to find him. So
if you open up 2 browsers, right, you go to YouTube on both of them. You type in Adam Steele on one and Around the 412 on the other one. Start watching videos on both of them. That's all I'm saying.
We would like to get our watch time to match his. That's not happening. That's really always. That's true. We're not on his level yet.
So I remembered this week. Did you remember to do a 3 Rivers?
I did remember.
Okay. So we're going to do 3 Rivers.
Okay.
3 Rivers Rapid Responses brought to you by the great people at Viget. Download the app today using the word Crowworthy to get signed up. Reach out to us and join the Around the 412 lobby. You can bet with coins. Ranks a leaderboard 1, 2, however many people are in it. And at the end of the month, reward you with the coins. Okay, so 3 Rivers Rapid Responses. I'll start. We'll go back and forth this time, though, as opposed to just doing my 3 and your 3. We'll do 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Will Brian Reynolds be on the Pittsburgh Pirates the next time that they make the playoffs?
Yes. And I'm basing that off of his statement a couple days ago. I don't know if it was yesterday, 2 days ago, whatever, where he was saying he likes Pittsburgh. He wants to be a Pirate. He likes being a Pirate, all that stuff. Listen, I know people say that and they're on the team, what are they supposed to say? I hate it here. I mean, I know some athletes over the years have said that, but I don't really take Brian Reynolds as the type to do that. But I also think he's being genuine about that. I do think that he likes Pittsburgh. I think he sees the things that Ben Cherington is doing as GM, and he wants to turn around the ship. And I think that he would like to be part of that. And how funny would it be that he's in the trade with Andrew McCutchen? Andrew McCutchen was the person that really was one of the pieces that turned around the ship for the Pirates and got them to a playoff berth. I think it would be nice if Brian Reynolds could be one of those veterans on that team, because by that time he would be one of those veterans and be one of the core to get them back to the playoffs. Yes, I think he will be.
Okay. Real quick, my thought on it is it depends on how good the team is in 2023. Not 2022, 2023.
Yeah, and anybody who thinks he's getting traded this year, just I don't know what you're thinking. Adam Frazier, yes, and there's multiple things that I can say about that, but trading Adam Frazier for the right price, not just for anything, is the right move to do. Sorry to say it. Brian Reynolds, no.
By the way, shout out to both those guys for starting the All-Star game last night. Crazy.
The Pirates had 2 starters in the NL All-Star team. All right, so you have to choose one player. Now, 2 nights ago, we had the home run derby. Shout out to Pete Alonso. You have to choose one baseball player from our lifetime. So from 1995 on, or whenever you started following baseball heavily on, to win a home run derby. Kind of like the thing with Max Kellerman. The aliens are pointed. They got the laser pointed at the earth. Who you having win a home run derby for you?
So this name comes up because he's my favorite Pirate of all time, but he also, just because it's relevant since that he won the home run derby the last time was at Coors Field before this season, I'm going with Ken Griffey Jr. And, not necessarily, he's not like the greatest power hitter of all time.
I assume you meant favorite player of all time. You said favorite Pirate of all time.
Oh, did I really?
Yeah.
Favorite, I meant to say non-Pirate. I'm sorry. Favorite player, favorite non-Pirate.
I was saying, I'm a little confused. You and Mike might be watching a different Pirate team if he's your favorite Pirate of all time.
No, my favorite non-Pirate, favorite player of all time. Okay. Ken Griffey Jr. He just had a swing that I felt was built for things like that. While you don't think of him as like the greatest power hitter of all time, he did have the best swing of all time. And I think in a scenario like that, where it should be a four-seam fastball down the middle, bam. Jake said he did a double take after that. I can't believe I said Pirate. I'm gonna have to clip that in an alternate universe. It did happen.
I wish that would have happened because, like you, that he's one of my favorite.
I feel like everybody like in our age range, that's like one of the first names, if not the first name they think of when it comes to baseball.
Yeah. So mine, I'll answer this one as well for myself. And mine, his career was kind of cut short a little bit. I'm going to go Prince Fielder. I know he did win at least 2. He might have won 3 home run derbies in his time. He was just like a pure power hitter. I mean, he ripped his belt from his swing. Not that he had a gut or anything, but, I just feel like if you need someone to have raw power and to have a lot of it and be able to keep doing it, he's the guy that I would rely on from our lifetime. Yeah,
I could see that pick as well. Like you said, it's a shame that his career was cut short with the neck injury. But okay, so this one's going to be interesting. Actually, I'll save this one for last because it could take the longest. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
So it was June. What was the date? So I remember it might have been June 1st. Actually, it was June 1st, 2016. And the reason I remember the date is because it was game 2 of the 2016 Stanley Cup Finals whenever the Penguins were playing the San Jose Sharks, and Connor Sherry won the game in overtime. I was at Stage AE seeing 21 Pilots. And listen, I've seen 21 Pilots 4 times
Didn't watch that Penguin game.
No, I was at the concert. Listen, I had the concert tickets before they were going to be in the Stanley Cup Final.
I don't know.
Yikes. I was not planning that far ahead. But so 21 Pilots to me is my favorite concert I've seen live. Like anytime I see them, I think they put on the best show that I've seen. And I've seen them 4 times, but 3 out of the 4 times it's been at a bigger venue. That one was at a smaller venue at Stage AE. It was outside, and I feel like
more intimate.
Yeah. I was gonna say that it's the right word. It's more intimate. It's just a closer feeling, and I feel like that's a concert memory that's gonna live with me forever. I mean, I remember I was in the pit. I was probably like 15 feet away from the stage. I mean, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I did miss game 2 of the Stanley Cup final. I did miss Connor Sherry's overtime goal. I was following the game on my phone at the concert somewhat, like between songs and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I did not watch it. Fake fan.
Former Pirate Ken Griffey Jr. I can't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you saying that is probably a bigger.
I ruined the episode. That's the one takeaway. No one's gonna remember that we had the great YouTuber Adam Steele on.
I would say if we didn't have Adam Steele on, I feel like the title of this episode should just be "Former Pirate Ken Griffey Jr."
I mean, might be able to get some clickbait with that.
It could be anyway. Yeah. All right. So you have to forget one TV show that you've watched, and you get to watch it again.
Oh,
easy. Yeah. So like, what was it?
I say this is easy. I've already said this. We've had conversations about this. Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
That's my favorite series of all time. So like, I have favorite comedies and stuff, but literally put genres aside, and for me, it's Sons of Anarchy.
I forgot that was it. I feel like we had talked about that before, but I mean, it's fun to think about. Like, there's a lot of good TV shows that I've watched, and if I could forget one and get to re-experience it for the first time, mine would be Breaking Bad. I feel like I've said that to you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Oh wait, you're next.
Yeah. So this is the one I said might take a while. You can invite one current or former athlete from each of our teams here in Pittsburgh to your wedding. So you're inviting one Penguin, one Pirate, one Steeler. They could be a current player or a former player.
Okay, Sidney Crosby.
Okay. I don't know how fun he'd be, but it'd be cool to say he's there.
I mean, do I really have to explain myself?
Mm-hmm.
Sidney Crosby, because he's my favorite athlete of all time. I will say Juju from the Steelers, because like you said, you don't know how fun Sid would be. I feel like Juju would be one of the more fun Steelers you could bring. I'm sure there's some guys back in the 70s that I could talk about that probably were able to get down back in their day, but you know, I can't really speak to them. So. Yeah. But yeah, so Juju would be my one I'd invite for the Steelers, and then for the Pirates,
Doc Ellis,
Tony Sanchez.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I feel like I could just listen to him talk about breaking up a perfect game.
Yeah,
but I feel like he would also be. I also feel like he would be be good at a party. Jose Tabata, yeah, I could invite him as well.
I don't know for the Pirates. He didn't come to mind. I don't know. Our conversation with Jack Wilson makes me think he'd be pretty cool at a wedding.
Yeah.
For the Pens, probably Yager.
Okay, that makes sense.
Maybe Dumoulin, if not.
What about Oli Mata? That's another guy who can.
I feel like that was a lot of peer pressure, though. I don't know how much of that was genuinely Oli Mata play going into that, but
that's true.
For the Steelers, I don't. That's tough. That's probably the toughest one for me. Do I go current? If it's current, it probably like you is Juju. If it's former.
I feel like at a certain point it can't go past a certain date, at least in our heads, because we don't know those older guys as well. Like we didn't experience them.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say one of those, but yeah, those are good picks as well. And you know, I will alter mine. I want Sid there, not just because he's a life party. I would have him officiate my wedding. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, I should say. I mean, maybe in that environment he's a different person, but I can think of a couple other guys I think could probably be more fun if that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, more fun. It would probably be Olimata or Brian Dumoulin or Yogs.
Okay, what's
all right? So
one?
last one. So we recently saw today that the Penguins have extended Teddy Bluger to a 1-year deal, and so that makes him more likely to be on their protected list in next week's expansion draft. So my question to you is, which one of these players will
I'm so glad I didn't put this. I thought about putting this similar question on.
Which one of these 3 players will be left unprotected? Jeff Carter, Jared McCann, or Kasperi Kapanen? I didn't leave. I would say I didn't put the rest only because I felt like those were locks to be.
I don't know, man. If you look at our mentions and the way a lot of people are talking on Twitter, it doesn't mean that the team's going to think like this. People are calling for Tanev to be protected.
Listen, I know people are calling for Tanev. That's just because he's a fan favorite. If people could use some brain cells, they realize that you can replace him easily.
He's just, I mean, listen, don't get me wrong.
Don't let me. You can't replace him easily. Not everybody's going to have that motor. But when it comes to types of players that you can replace, he's one that is easier to replace than someone like Jared McCann. And I feel like that's fairly obvious. I just think that the fans like him so much that they would just want to protect him. And I don't know what it is with Penguins fans where they dislike Jared McCann so much.
See, not that he plays like – he doesn't play like a Tom Wilson or anything, obviously, and he's not as skilled as Tom Wilson. But Brandon Tanev brings that little bit of like get underneath your skin type of hockey. So I think that the people that think like that are thinking – and this is like me maybe giving a lot of people more credit than they deserve when they have this opinion. But I'm thinking that a lot of people think we have a lot of players like Jared McCann and not a lot of players like Brandon Tanev. Though that's just me being devil's advocate because 100% out of the names that you just like, I'm protecting McCann and Kapanen from that list. I'm not protecting Carter. I'm taking my chances there and hoping that Carter says I'm not going to play for another team again. I'll retire if I have to relocate, and they don't even touch that situation.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the only reason we're throwing Carter in there, and I would throw Carter in there, at least in my what I have projected as the protection list, is because we saw that thing that Yoey put out after the season ended. Yeah, it was saying that they are for sure going to protect Jeff Carter, and I'm like, why? He's got a 1-year deal that we're paying $2.3 million on. I just don't see, and he's 36 years old. He's going to be 37. I just don't see what is that face for.
We're going to talk about this in a second anyway, so.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm with you. I think that out of those 3 names, and as much as I hate it, Jared McCann is probably going to be the one left unprotected. And as far as it goes for,
I would trade him before the draft. Hurry up.
Yeah, if you're gonna let him go, trade him instead of leaving him unprotected to get taken. Because I promise you, another team would love a player like that. And as far as the Tanev stuff goes, don't get me wrong, I love Brandon Tanev. But do I really think that Seattle is going to want a 3rd or 4th line player that's making $3.5 million for the next 4 years? No, I don't think that they're going to want to do that. I get that they'll probably have the leeway to take on a contract like that and it won't affect them. I just don't see it happening. And that's the type of player I think that they would take from the Penguins. So why even protect them?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to be McCann, unfortunately. But like I just said, I would listen, even if you don't see him as part of the team, I think that he has more value around the league than some of these other guys. So I'd rather try to trade him.
Yeah.
Before it gets but we're talking about,
we'll talk about all this and a lot more about the expansion draft, the NHL entry draft. Next Tuesday night, we're going to have Jesse Marshall from The Athletic on. Our friend Jesse, he's the expert on all of this stuff, so we'll be there. I think around 8 o'clock Tuesday night next week. That's the night before the expansion draft. We're going to be diving deep into all this stuff with him.
Yeah, a little bit of what we got going on coming up. So you already mentioned Jesse Marshall. Dates are not finalized, but we got to introduce you guys to a couple of the newest Pittsburgh Pirates. Anthony Solometto is going to be coming on here. We're still trying to work on that date, as well as Bubba Chandler will be on here as well. Great to see that he is foregoing his commitment to Clemson to join the Pittsburgh Pirates. What a job by Ben Sherrington and company in the MLB draft, getting 4 guys who were in the top 32 prospects. Just unreal. And that goes back to, again, this is, as Pirate fans, and we're in the Pirate hat right now, this is one of the few things that we've been able to really like relish in and be happy about. So Just let us have this. Are these guys going to pan out? Like, realistically, hopefully 2 of them do. That'd be great. If 2 of these 4 end up being the guys that we think that they can be, it's a win. But that's not what this is about right now. It's about the team taking these swings on guys and signing them, saving a little bit of money with the first overall pick, despite getting the player that was apparently number 1 on their board, and being able to go out and get 3 other guys that were perceived first-round picks. So very excited to do that, as well as, like I mentioned when Adam was on here, Stephon Tuitt will be joining us at some point before the Steelers kick off their season. So I would say within the next month or so, he'll be joining us. So very excited for that as well. The last thing I wanted to mention is I have set up the GoFundMe for Rocking Around the 412. The reason that I had that face, and I don't know if he'd want me to mention it on here, he hates when we praise him. Our friend Mike in Illinois, Mike Allsworth, has made the first substantial donation. There were a couple other ones that were put in before this. Mike just donated $1,000 to the cause.
Okay.
So
I can understand why you made that face. Thank you, Mike. That is pretty much going to cover an entire family.
That's a family. That's a family for us. Yeah. That's how we try to break it up. So last year, the first $5,000 we raised went to those 5 families. We had a few donations come in after that. So what we did was I donated a little bit to the fire department because my uncle is the chief of 2 different fire departments. And then I also donated, or I don't know why I'm saying donated, just sent $50 to 5 nurses, frontline workers, because of everything that's going on in 2020. Wanted to, give them something in a way. So, but yeah, $1,000. That's an entire family for us to cover.
That's crazy.
We're off and running with the Rock Around the 412 year 4.
Yeah, that's nuts. Thank you, Mike. You've been one of our supporters for a long time.
Did Mike win a prize last year? I don't remember.
He might have, but I think he gave it up.
You're probably right.
I think he said, "I don't want to give it to someone else."
And he donated one. He donated that Claypool photo.
He did. Yeah. Yeah, I think that Mike, what you've done for us in Rocking Around the 412 over the past few years, it's been incredible. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. And that's going to help literally an entire family. That's
We keep saying it, but I mean, it's true. We spend $1,000, give or take a little bit, on literally every single family. So
awesome.
We can
the face that face was well warranted at that point.
I'm going to have to screen grab that for the new memes page we started. By the way, follow that.
Dude, I literally thought, based off that face, I was like, did Henry Davis DM you back?
No, we're still waiting on that. So if anybody can get a hold of Henry Davis and tell him to hit me back on Instagram or Twitter or something, tell him to do so. But no, this was a fun episode. Shout out to Adam for coming on once again, and we are definitely going to have him come back on. But he mentioned to us he will be in Pittsburgh several times, so if you guys are going to be at some Steeler games, you already know your boy's going to be there. Don't mention it again. Tyler will be there for the Bears game. We're going to be doing an event for that. Let us get your give us your input on what you would rather see us do. Again, it's going to be in November, so would you guys rather be safe and do an indoor location, or do you want to keep the traditional tailgate vibes up and be outside? We're kind of both are in play at this point. Also, on August 28th now at the Lytle Cafe. Come check us out. We're going to be there with our boys Eddie and Chad hosting a dual event type thing, just to get together. We're not going to be podcasting.
Not a live show or anything. Yeah, it's just going to be
a live show, just hanging
drinks, some of Eddie's grandma's hot sausage that you can get.
Oh, I heard they said people come from all over for that. So
we heard good things. So yeah, come check it out. It's just going to be all of us hanging out there.
Hopefully Mel will be there with her edible cookie dough batter. Shout out to Batter and Mel. But yeah, going to be a lot of great people, a lot of good stuff. So just come check it out, hang out, and I don't know, it might be the first get together for a lot of people post COVID. So
true.
I know it. I mean, I don't know that I've been with around that many people since it either. So for me, it will even kind of be the first thing really since.
Say if you're excluding Pirates games and that
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah. I haven't been around 30,000 people or anything yet. So
yeah. No, yeah. Me too. An actual gathering where we're all hanging out with the same purpose, not just a Pirate game or Penguin game. I know what you mean.
Of course, as always, shout out to Christian at Keats Barbershop at 180 Bretton Avenue in Rochester, PA. He's open 11 to 7 Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 4 on Saturday, and every Tuesday he does $5 off for military personnel, first responders, and nurses. Again, that's Keats Barbershop at 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. Thanks as always for listening to this episode of Around the 412. This has been a presentation of Crowworthy, where winners are serving winners coast to coast with sports, gambling, fantasy, and more. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Around the 412. Follow them at Crowworthy Takes, and visit the Pittsburgh City page at crowworthy.com for podcasts like this one, blogs by your boys, and several more and much more good content. Until next time, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.